As an organizer and may now speak to any other organizers or panelists on the line. When you are ready to begin the presentation, press the start.
All right, guys, welcome to the FitBanker Challenge webinar on the model of transformative health and the science of transformative health. Really great to have you on. Just to get present to who we have on the call, we have a number of people who are signed up already to the program starting Monday. We have others that are joining to listen in on what this is about, and I think I really want to leave those of you, whether you choose to join the challenge or not, I want to leave each of you with something to take away, to look at what you may have been missing inside of your approach to health, right? These were things I wish I knew. I wish I was taught in high school. I wish I was taught in the corporate busy world that I never was taught. And knowing them made all the difference. The implementation of them, though, is a different ball game, and that's really where we came in, and that's how and why we exist, to really support people with a structure that works, a team that works, and really have a community around you that's supporting you on your journey. Okay, so to kick off, feel free, guys, this is going to be interactive, so please feel free to unmute yourself and do ask any questions or type them out, and I'd be happy to read them. But if you could please unmute yourself. There's just a handful of us now at a lunchtime session. We do have another one at 10 a.m. tomorrow, which is going to be the same one. And if you have somebody else that you know would like to be part of it, please do reach out to me or reach out to us, and we will send you the link for them to sign up and register to it. So this is going to be interactive. I'd love to hear from you guys to share anything. So feel free to unmute yourself as we do. So I'd like to ask, firstly, question: have any of you guys tried a diet, or have any of you gone on a diet? And if you have, what sort of diets have you tried? Can you unmute yourself and just share what you've tried?
Hi everyone, this is Divya here. I have tried in the past, which has worked to some degree, a high protein, low carb diet.
Mm-hmm. And how did it go for you? You said it worked to some degree, and did you discontinue it, or did you get some results from it? What happened?
Yes, it was based on the 17-day diet plan, which you do in cycles. So really focused on eating lots of vegetables and fruit, etc., and protein in cycles, and then you slowly add in different types of starches and carbs. It certainly helped with weight loss. I did find, however, that beyond the first cycle or 2 cycles of 17 days, it becomes a bit more difficult to be sustainable.
Got it. Okay, so sustainability was one of the issues. All right, excellent. Got it. Who else? Would anybody else like to share any program that you might have tried in terms of diet or just other form of diet? Because to me, my old listening and view of diet was you simply eat less. And I used to hear this simple line being thrown around, which is it's very easy to lose weight. You exercise more and you eat less. But more, and words like more and less weren't really definitive, and they weren't really measurable. And so I found that was a missing when people spoke of it in that manner. Okay, if any of you guys would like to share, feel free to unmute. If not, what we'll do, we'll crack on. Okay, so what is diet? So like I said, diet, I've always had it that it's around this definition, which has found its way in the dictionary: the kinds of food that a person, animal, or community habitually eats. And most of us think that that's what diet is about, that it's got to do with the food side. But if you actually look at the origin of the word diet, it actually comes from a way of life. And effectively, that's what we look to bring inside of the FitBanker Challenge, inside of our model of transformative health, and what we're calling lifestyle education that lasts a lifetime. What I mean by that is it's not just the things you have at the meal times, and it's not just the hour in the gym. It's what you do the 23 hours outside of that, right? So how can we make your whole routine mindful and conscious around what you're doing and taking your body through, to have you work towards and meet your goals. So that's what we're going to look at today. And before we go into that, I'd love to first just share a bit about our background and my background, and share with you my journey from fat banker to fit banker, and why going through this really means so much to me that I get to pass this forward, pay it forward, and really also why I have my heart in it. So, I used to work in banking, and I was in banking and finance for about 12 years. I've worked in a number of places. I've worked in Zambia, the UK, the US, Kenya, and bulk of those years was with JP Morgan, where I was vice president there. I had loads of travel, had a great after hours sort of party life, social life with office colleagues. Not too dissimilar from the image on the bottom right, which is from the Wolf of Wall Street, but slightly more civil than that. And it was a really great career. I loved my time there. I may choose to at some point still do some contracting in banking. I had no sort of hate for the word banker or banking or anything of that sort, as many people do. But I didn't realize what stress meant. I thought stress meant where you're working in an environment and you have somebody always breathing down on your neck, screaming at you, scolding at you, making you feel horrible and crap for the work you do. I thought that's what stress meant. But stress really meant that we're putting our body and our mind through a certain amount of usage that exceeds what we are familiar with. And as a result, it needs to cope at that enhanced level. So my work hours might have been like 9 in the morning till 9 at night on a regular basis, and sometimes 11 or midnight. And it wasn't uncommon that we did the odd overnighter in the office. But that wasn't always the case, right? There were times where we could get off earlier, but I thought that the one-off times are okay. But actually, it has an impact on our health. And going through that lifestyle, what turned out was this dude, right? So I was this really fat banker. I was 108 kilos at my lowest point. And to be fair, I could still bring a smile on it because I laughed at myself. I laughed at, I've tried everything. I really have tried everything. I eat less. I've cut this out. I've cut that out. I've stopped sugar. Whatever I thought I was reducing or I was not having so frequently, I thought I've tried all I could, and it still wasn't happening. So I was actually resigned that anything could shift. So I just chose, you know what, I'll just accept myself the way I am. And as with many other people that are overweight, we tend to bring some self-deprecating humor where people say you really need to get into shape, and we respond with lovely verbal defense mechanisms like, round is a shape as well, or whatever it may be, or we make funny jokes that are kind of self-deprecating. And that's simply because we are left at a point where we think nothing can shift. And that's what I was continually doing. This was me. I was still, doing stuff, going to the beach. This was in 2014, was the first time I did Mount Kilimanjaro. I've done it again since, a lot lighter, 20-something kilos lighter, and a lot easier doing it that way. And again, we're doing it this November and December, which anyone joining here is invited to as well. So while I was going through this journey, living the life that I could and afford, it was August 2013, and we were up in Edinburgh, the Fringe Festival, celebrating my wife Ambika's birthday. We were also celebrating that, just being newly married, 9 months married, and we were 3 months pregnant. And we were just thinking about this beautiful being that's coming into our world and the future that lie ahead of us. And everything looked perfect and amazing. And I thought that was the definition of success. Well, while we were there, my ego bubble got pricked and everything turned 180 degrees as we had a miscarriage. And that really, really, really pierced us. It was a very humbling experience. We were hurt. We were clueless. We were helpless. We didn't know what to do in that moment. And I went into my head questioning, has it got to do with me? Is it that my health is somewhat inferior that's contributing to this unhealthy and now unsuccessful pregnancy? Equally, Ambika would go into her head asking whether it was her. And the emotional stress that night really got quite intense. And the following day, on our way back, on the train ride back, I got these random heart palpitations. And I, kind of being a cocky know-it-all, thought, you know what, I'm just going to sleep on it. I'll drink some water. I'll do some deep breathing. I'll be fine in the morning. To which Ambika immediately screamed. She goes, there's no way I'm waking up tomorrow having lost another one. She dialed the ambulance, and that night I ended up in hospital. And it was a real eye-opener for me. So all setbacks that any of you may have had, I want you to get that those are probably the greatest gifts that are going to afford you uh, uh, an opportunity to rechannel that energy to something positive, towards a goal. And the ECG test, ECG stress test, the blood test, the following days of checkups, I got so clear for myself. I didn't want to be that person in the family where, the family always have to run around for the hospital visits and the check-ins and have you had your medication. I was so clear. I didn't want to be that guy for my family. I wanted to be the dad that's going to be out there, that's be able to run with the kids or climb mountains with them or whatever they want to do, right? I wanted to really invest in me and have my body and myself and my energy and my confidence at its highest level. And so I took on transforming my health, and I did it in a very public way. I did it by sharing my journey on Facebook. And the psychology of that really left me with something which we've also included in the design of our program. And I started transforming my health. And the bulk of it happened in 5.5 months, but in 90 days was this transformation. So as I started it, I came across a challenge online, and there was a 90-day program that some guys were doing, and they invited people to join them. And I thought, you know what, I've already figured out. I started losing 5.5 kilos a month using the science of body types and focusing on body composition and focusing on eating foods that work for you and avoiding foods that really don't work for your metabolism. And doing that, I started getting amazing results. I threw myself in the competition. 90 days later, focusing on body composition, I brought my fat percentage down to 11.3. Eventually, it went down to 5.9%, and I won that competition. And when I won that competition, I really got a flurry of people reaching out to me with messages for the next 45 days continuously. What did you do? How did you eat? How did you make this happen? I said, you know what? Not everybody wants to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. They just want to be able to know how their body works. They want to know what kind of foods actually work for them and what are they eating that may not really be working for them. And that was the birth of being really committed to people that wanted to take it on. Me standing in contribution to them, we launched FITBANKER. And since we've launched FITBANKER, we've had some amazing results. Janali, welcome. This webinar has been recorded from the start. So, if you want the recording later from the beginning, we can share that with you. So what's happened since we've launched? We've had over 200 people do this program globally. We've had people from 17 countries. We've had doctors. This is a Dr. Diksha Patel. She's a physician in the US. She's actually in transit. On Monday, we're going to be meeting her. She's coming via London. So you might see some stuff on social media as we launch our day one challenge. She lost 9.1 kilos. Now, most doctors tell people what to do around their health, but they don't necessarily get to implement it. So it's not about the knowledge. It's not about the knowledge. It's about how we simplify it and how we can deliver some sets of action steps that you got to take, and very simple ones that a busy doctor on call can implement and take on. This is Elisa Yusebi. She's somebody who lost 11.3 on her challenge, went on to lose another 9 kilos. She's now 20 kilos lighter, and she went to pursue a passion, right? I always tell people, when you look at this, don't tell me what's possible by how much weight you can lose. What can you then do if you lost that weight? So as you're listening in on this webinar, I want each of you to consider, what is it I never get to do because of the way I am in the area of health or energy or strength or fitness or even confidence? Last month we took novices, people first time on a bike, for a 114-kilometer bike ride over 3 days to Windsor, including my 14-month-old baby sat in the back. And that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't a shift at the mindset level. These guys are the Fit Doctors, I call them, and they run this annual campaign, which is starting now in about 7 days. I'll be doing an interview with them on Facebook, and they basically did the FitBanker challenge, and they lost. Sijo on the left, he lost 53 pounds, and Jamin lost 35 pounds. Now they go around driving. They drive across the US, spreading awareness of men's health. They are top urologists based in Florida. In fact, Jamin is a regular feature on Fox News, and they They talk about health, but they themselves were not the living model and example. They did the program, and after having lost, about 90 pounds between the two of them, they got to be this new them on the right, and now they really look and fit the piece. So I always ask you, what's possible after? This is Simran. When she joined our challenge at 113 kilos, people told her she was ridiculous posting her photos up, and she did. She posted a before photo. She really loves and embraces her body like it is right from day one, and I invite you guys to do that. At 93 kilos, after she had lost 20 kilos, we were at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro, and we started our ascent. And it was very mentally and physically challenging for her, but we coach you at the mindset level. We don't tolerate you being your circumstances. We want you to have results, not reasons. So when you bring reasons to us, we will have to have straight conversations with you. We have weekly webinars, and through that we got Simran to summit Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest single standing mountain in the world, right? So that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for a willingness and an openness to learn. So people often ask me, of your program, how much of it is exercise and how much is nutrition? I'm like, it's not mostly about that. It's mostly about the mindset. It's the 50% willingness to learn and being open to being contributed to. And it takes something for doctors who know all that to actually come on and do our program. 3 of my favorite stories is this one. This is Manisha. She got gestational diabetes after she had her 3rd baby, and she was told she won't be around for her baby's 10th birthday at the blood sugar levels she had. Took on our program, and within the first month, just by telling her what to cut out, she went for a test, and the doctors had to retest her because the sugar totally reversed. She eventually lost 14 kilos, and she is diabetes free, completely free. And she shared this very emotional post offering away in the US just doctor visits, to insurance, to insulin jabs, just costs an arm and a leg. Like in the UK, I think many of us, we take that for granted because the medical system provides us with a lot of that stuff. And as a result, we neglect owning our own body. And I'm committed to creating human beings that totally understand and own their body, and they don't have a dependency on the medical services other than for when they break a leg or something that needs repairing or stitching. But you don't need repairing your habits in your daily routine. This is Ushma Vagela. She was a mom of 1. She was struggling to conceive. She chose to go the IVF route, and the IVF clinic refused to accept her to join. They said, you're way too overweight for us to even start. The likelihood of your healthy pregnancy is very low, so you will have to lose weight. She spent a whole year trying everything. She lost 3 kilos. She does our program, and within 10 weeks, she was 8 kilos lighter. She got accepted on the IVF program. By the end of her challenge, she was 10.8 kilos lighter, and she was pregnant through IVF. They just wanted one more baby because they had 1 girl. They wanted 1 more after 3 or 4 years or 5 years of trying, and they ended up getting twins. And then they got twins, and after they got twins, because they were told and it was drilled in their head that they will never be able to conceive naturally, they decided to carry on having fun and unprotected. And now within 7 months after within 5 months after they got pregnant again. And so now they have 4 daughters, which is just beautiful. One of the most amazing stories I'm really grateful for. Some of you, if you're connected to me on Facebook, if you just scroll down on my timeline to about 1 week ago, you will see the interview I did with her and all her babies. So please have a look at that. And this guy is amazing. He's 70 years old, did the program. I call him Dad. And he was 90 kilos, had high BP, high cholesterol, and eczema and psoriasis on his back. And it was really impacting him. And he thought, this is just something I have to live with till I die. Now, your body is just a scorecard. It's telling you there's stuff going on inside you that you're unwilling to deal with. Right? We have this thing called the lymphatic system, which takes waste out, and it shows up as eczema, psoriasis, flushing, candida, pimples, and so on. And if you understand that, you get to alter what goes on the inside of your body, and you get to alter the outside. So he lost 20 kilos at the age of 70. He started 70. He's now 73. He's 20 kilos lighter. He's completely free of high BP medication, high cholesterol medication. He does have the occasional aspirin, but otherwise the doctors have told him you don't need this medication anymore. And that's why I say we focus on health. The body is just a beautiful byproduct. So why do we exist? What are we trying to teach you alternative to what's out there? Well, what everyone gets offered out there from your school, and it's in the school syllabuses, it's in the posters in your clinic, is what's called the Eat Well Guide. It's this one image that they try to simplify everything to say everyone should follow this. Now, this doesn't make sense. In the bottom right corner, they say per day, women should have 2,000 calories, men should have 2,500 calories. That number and figure is probably figured out. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but that number is conjured out of people that are probably in the pharmaceutical or in the food manufacturing industry, and that would require a certain extensive level of exercise in the day to have that. I seldom go as a male to 2,000 calories. Somebody who is listening in on this program, if you're 5'3", and there's somebody who's 7'2", there's no way you could have the same calorific intakes, right? But they don't distinguish that. So this simply says you need X amount of veg, X amount of carb, X amount of dairy, X amount of protein. You have some cheeky snacks in the bottom right corner, and then they tell you some kinds of oils and spreads you can have, and X amount of water. Now, when you tell everybody the same information, right, and we have a world which has growing and increasing amounts of obesity and child obesity. I mean, if you guys know the stats in the UK, every child, when they just start primary school, 1 in 5 is already obese. But by the time they leave high school, 1 in 3 is obese. So it just increases. 33% of a classroom graduating are obese. And obese is not the morbidly obese that you see on TV. Obese is like me. I could get around and still climb a mountain. And I was carrying, 26 extra kilos of fat that I didn't actually need. So what do we do? How are we different? What's unique inside of the design of our program? What's unique is that we get to have you understand what's unique about you. You need to understand you. So there are a few specifics that we look at. We look at your lifestyle. How busy are you? How many hours do you work? How active are you? Knowing that, through your apps will track how active you are, and that will dictate and forecast how many more calories you can eat. We look at the science of body types. Now, I can't guess your body type by looking at you, but we give you 2 very detailed questionnaires. One from the ancient science of Ayurveda, which will tell you body type according to Ayurveda, whether you're Vata, Pitta, Kapha, or the modern science, which is about 80 years old now, of Western bodybuilding, which is ectomorph, mesomorph, or endomorph. And when we determine who you are, the fitness world still doesn't use this. They kind of treat it as though if you're that body type, well, you just stuck with things you can or cannot do. But the way we use it is, if you're a certain body type, there are foods you need not eat because it's likely that you have a certain type of metabolism, and we want to alter your metabolism. We want to introduce to your body what's called metabolic flexibility, right? We want to change how your body changes how it processes food. We'll talk about that in a couple of slides. We introduce what's called functional eating. So eating according to what you're about to do, the types of activities, or eating to complement what activity you just did. Secondly, we look at things like body composition, right? So any one of you and me, we could both weigh 78 kilos as an example. But my 78 kilos is 42% of that is muscle. 11% of that, or 12% or 13% of that is fat, right? But someone else might have that different. You might have 42% fat, right? For women, they generally have a greater fat percentage than men. And that's just because of basically our boobs and our butts. However, it's also, you might have a metabolism that generally creates or converts more of what you eat into stored energy, i.e. body fat. We also coach on not just physical muscle, but what I call physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, right? And we look at those triggers that you have. There's an emotional relationship you have with food. There's a mental relationship that we begin to have you form around food or around exercise. And what I mean by mental, we teach you the technical knowledge on how to track and record food and habits to do around them, that when you've done it for 13 weeks, that becomes a very sustained habit. And a lot of foods now, you look at them and you're not really thinking about the taste per se, but you begin to understand what role does it play inside you. And suddenly that food has a numerical value. So the moment I look at a packet of popcorn when I go to the cinema, that packet of popcorn before, to me, it was collapsed in my mind that this is a must-have with movie. There was an emotional relationship with the two. And that packet of popcorn, now I can look at it and I can say that's 750 calories. That is more than a whole meal that I eat nowadays, right? So I've got to learn that subconsciously through the habits. So how do we do this? How do we rewire your brain? It happens through, the theory will provide you, it happens through us giving you exercises to implement, and it happens through repetition, going over it. Now, your brain has already been conditioned one way for, say, 20 something or 30 something or 40 something years, depending on your age and how long you've been living your own current lifestyle, your current diet. You already are on a diet, right? It's just the one that's creating the body and the health that you currently have. So when you were growing up, you have an experience around food or around physical activity. You have the experience and you formed an interpretation. You then get repeat evidence around it and you form a conclusion. And in your brain, when you get that experience, two synapses in your brain, two neurons, they spark and fire together, and they trigger a new neuronal pathway, or in Vedic terms, we call it a vasana. And that vasana, that new pathway, has you think that that's just the way it is. It's the interpretation you formed. As an example, it might be I was at school, a sports day, and I wasn't picked for any sport, but I was picked for a game called memory race. And memory race meant I didn't have to run or jump or skip or anything. I had to walk about 10 meters somewhere. I look in this Pandora's box and there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, and I have to memorize as many things as I can. And I go back to the finish line and I write down as many as I did. And I thought, wow, they didn't even choose me for the egg and spoon race. They chose me for this one. And I made a decision. I'm not athletic. I'm academic. And some of you guys may have had that, where you may have come last in a race, you may have been mocked as something in sport, or you may have been very sporty, and then somewhere, someday, something happened, and you made an interpretation. You say, no more, not me again. And you closed off that part of you, just like I did as a 6-year-old kid. And I found repeat evidence, where as I grew up and I'm now 11 years old, I've gone to new school, and they choose the football team and nobody chose me. And I said, wow, I'm definitely not athletic, but I was really good in class. So I said, I'm not athletic, I'm an academic. So my whole career choices thereafter were focusing on what is academically challenging and not physically challenging. And then we form new pathways with that repeat evidence and conclusion over time, over our life. To date, we form this full network, this net through which our patterns go through. Think of it as a filter or a stencil or a template. Because it's formed a certain pattern or way, whenever you see food in front of you, physical activity, there's only one way in which you know how to process them. Participate or don't participate. Go for a run or don't go for a run. Like when I'm at the office at JP Morgan and the office guys are going for a lunchtime run, that was alien to me. I said, no, me and my people, we don't do that, right? That's not a thing we do. But why? I created that meaning myself, and then I sabotaged the opportunity to step into something new many years later. So what we do in transformative health is we're committed to creating a paradigm shift. So the first step is you acknowledge what's there, which is you acknowledge your already existing pattern that you have in your brain around something. We then replace the existing with an entirely new model. We're not going to change, suppress, bend, force, or push, not do more of or suppress less of what you currently do. We're just going to bring a whole new way of operating around food and physical activity. And then you will learn through experience. We'll ask you, as an example, I'll say, look, how long does it take you to go and burn 500 calories today? And you go and tell me, and this is the activity that I did, Ronnie, and it took me that long to burn 500 calories. And then I had one packet of Walker's crisps, or 2 packets, and that was 500 calories back in me. And you realize, wow, I just wiped out what I did through 1 packet of crisps or 1 chocolate. And when you know that and you've discovered that through the numbers, you're like, why would I do that to myself? And a shift begins to happen. And then we create this whole new mindset, this new funnel, this new stencil to think through. And then we get a whole new you emerge at the end of the 90 days. So it happens slowly, but it lasts for a lifetime. So what are some of the ones I went through that I did? Well, I grew up thinking my dad is overweight, I'm overweight, and I made a conclusion in my brain called I have what's called the fat gene, right? So some of you may have those sort of interpretations. You look at your parents and you think, well, I'm subject to the way they are and what they have and what they do. I then realized that was a limiting belief, and in altering me, I got to contribute to my dad, and I altered the generation above. I'm inviting you guys to alter your future generations. Do it for your kids, do it for your nephews, your nieces, do it for your parents. Alter those habits in your household. Ultimately, we're looking for people that will be leaders around their dinner table, that will be leaders in their office space. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're committed to building. This is me and Ambika. We got engaged, right? So imagine she went for that big guy. And I thought, no, I'm not saying life is unfair because she ends up with a guy like me, or the other way. But life is unfair in that we would go out, we eat a pizza, and the next day she looks and feels exactly the same. Whereas I have put on half a kilo, and I probably ate less pizza than her. And I was like, life is bloody unfair. Why does that happen? We order the same food, yet she's lost it and I've gained it. Like, how does that happen? And I realized that I was missing this part of science that was just never in my school curriculum. And it's called the science of body types. And so I looked at both sciences from ancient Eastern Ayurveda, Ayurvedic teachings, Vedic teachings, as well as modern science. And I looked at how can I create a hybrid of the two? So how can we use that for our participants? Because what worked in Ayurveda, we had a very different lifestyle in terms of physical activity 200 years ago, right? Nowadays, we sat at desks and in cars and on the trains, so we're not spending as much. So I need to make some modifications to what I've learned from that. I need to make some modifications to the way it's used in bodybuilding or use it differently. And then we invite people, we show them how to train to their advantage, avoid foods that don't work for them, and so on. The third thing is we all have different starting points, right? So what I mean by starting points is, we've got Janali, Reshma on. You guys might have a different fat percentage to each other. So why would you, if you went to the same personal trainer or the personal trainer you might go to currently, he might be giving you the same training program he gives to somebody else that's also female and also your age, right? The PT industry is trained to get people fit based around things like their gender, their age, and their familiarity with machines, right? They may not always look at things, some do, some don't. Well, you're starting at about 35% body fat, or you're starting at about 50%, 45% body fat, and you are already at 23% body fat. Therefore, to get you to your optimal level is different from the other person. So that's what we look at and have you say, this is where you are and this is where you need to get to. Tony Robbins says, you can't manage that which you can't measure. So most of us, we write down New Year's resolutions like, this year I will lose weight. That has no specificity to it. You want to be clear that I am today at 33% body fat, or I am today at 43% body fat, and my goal is to get to 20% body fat within 90 days, or within 4 months, or 5 months, whatever you set for yourself, right? We're committed to giving you the science and the tools so you know how to do this. What is metabolism? How do you reboot metabolism? So metabolism, if you Google it, it will just tell you it's a collection of chemical processes going on in you at any point in time. That, knowing that doesn't make a difference to you or me. What we do is we say it's food gets converted in your body into three things. Some of it goes to energy, some of it goes to muscle, some of it goes to fat. Now, for different people and different body types and different lifestyles, some of you will have very little going to energy, and more of it will go to storage of fat and an average amount of muscle. That's how I was. And knowing that, I said, how do I alter the foods I eat, and how do I alter the activity I do right after that will trigger the burn, that will trigger the demand for the food to break down and play a certain role. And that way we biohacked our body. We gave foods that were easier to break down, and we did a light amount of activity that created the demand of energy. So our body becomes this temple of supply and demand, and we get to forecast and dictate like a cash flow projection of where our body will be in a certain time. So I always tell people to remember this quote: your body is simply a result. It's a scorecard of what we do before we eat and what we do after we eat. But what we eat should also be designed around what we just did or what we are about to do. So that's a key thing for us to understand the functioning of our body. So here are some things I want you to take away, whether you're doing the program or not, or if you have further questions, you must reach out to me around any of these. If you want copies of these, any of what I share now, I can send that to you separately as well. So firstly, you want to alkalize your body. What I mean by that is you want to increase the amount of oxygen that's inside your blood. That will have the effect of having you feel a lot more energetic, a lot more vibrant in life. You'll get an efficient distribution of nutrients and oxygen through your blood across your body to your limbs. And these smoothies are designed based on body types. But if you see in the top right corner, so we have a number of smoothies, about 5-6 ones that you can have across the program. Some are specific to a body type, but these ones work for all body types. The green goddess smoothie is something I have on a regular basis. You could also have the blue beet smoothie. And they're all designed to be around the 100-calorie mark per glass. So this would really be a great morning start as a breakfast replacement. Secondly, you want to learn how to train efficiently. Now, many people have been thinking, how do you lose weight? Is it walking? Is it running? Is it working out in the gym with weights? Science has shown time after time, and people continue to review the science, the most effective fat burning is HIIT, high intensity interval training. And this is a 7-minute one that you can screenshot. You can use this at your home. Do 7 minutes in the morning. It might take slightly longer than 7 minutes depending on your break time, but you're meant to do it compressed in a short time of high intensity work phase and then a short rest phase. And we tell you what to look out for, because you could go and do this, but you might not be doing it efficiently. And so we tell you, if you have like a Fitbit or a heart rate monitor, how to monitor things like your maximum heart rate and that it's moving between a particular range that triggers fat burn. We teach on our webinars how to record that, how to monitor that, and how to know whether your heart health is actually getting stronger. It's because my dad, at the age of 71, strengthened his heart. He got to give up, or the doctors got to say, you no longer need this high BP medication. In fact, staying on it was now having an adverse effect on him because he had naturally already healed his heart. Third thing is we teach you how to macro track. So this is a key one for those of you doing the challenge. Divya, if you could download this app called MyFitnessPal. I will send you separate instructions on how to add me, and then it comes with a default setting, but that default setting is to meet health and safety and regulatory sort of requirements for various food and health bodies. But what we do on this challenge, because we're looking to cause a dynamic shift, is we will tell you to make certain key changes on the settings. So I will message you on what that is around goals like your macro goals, around your weight loss goals, if you're doing weight loss on your program. And you'll also get another email later today, which is called What Next, and give you a list of things to set up and prepare. And tomorrow you'll get another email, which is a shopping list of what to prepare for Monday. So the final thing that makes the greatest difference is doing it alone. We are already doing it alone. The way we are right now is already doing it alone. To stay in action and to go into a territory that we haven't gone before, to yield results different to what we've always yielded, right? We've got to do things differently. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Aristotle says, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit, right? It's about getting that repetition and creating a support structure around you that will sustain that sort of repetition. So what we do is we have a psychological statement you're making by putting this public post to say, hey, I'm doing the FitBanker challenge. You have a team and community. There's a private group of all the participants who've done it before you, 200 plus people from 17 countries. On there are also doctors and other nutritionists and other sport professionals who have done the program. You share your actions as a commitment out there. So when you're sharing what you're doing, you start altering the community around you. They begin to listen to you as, oh, Manjeet is the go-to person for health. I saw her recently having a smoothies around this, or she's doing this, or, Reshma goes for these treks and I'd love to join her and find out what it's about, because she's sharing what she's up to. But the more you share what you're up to as a declaration, the more you want to fulfill and fill in that future you that you're creating, right? We talk more about the psychology of sharing on our program as well. And the final thing you want to do is a psychology called dangle the carrot. When I was working in banking, the way I stayed in my role for so long was each year there was a good bonus coming at the end, or there was a promotion. And every time I wanted to quit, I'd accumulated quite some bonus that I didn't want to lose it. So I would turn down other job offers and I would stay in the role till I got my payout. And that was a brilliant psychological way to keep me in the game for long enough. Nothing wrong, it just worked. Now I can use the same thing that worked in the area of health. And the way you dangle the carrot is you sign up to something like Tough Mudder, or you sign up to climbing a mountain, or joining us on Kilimanjaro, or a wedding coming up, or a beach holiday, and that's at stake. I do say though that create a greater why that's not about you. Make it be about others that will have you want to show up and operate a certain way. So if you join the program, if you choose to sign up to a program, what would you get? You get to a questionnaire, and in there you will complete a body type assessment based on Ayurveda and bodybuilding. We will give you meal plan ideas, which are 5 days, 5 options for 5 days, so 25 meal ideas in there. There'll be a training program for the gym and home-based, and outdoor we will recommend a certain amount of walking and type and time of walking. There's an ab routine that you can also follow. There are going to be 10 webinars right now. They're being run live. At some point, we'll be transitioning to automating our systems, and these will be recorded. There's a private online community. We have free UK-based treks. So the next one is on 24th of June. We were meant to have one this Sunday, but the weather's not looking too good. A biking one going from Chiswick to Hampton Court Palace. And you have direct access to the coaching team. You have access to me. You can reach out to me. You will be on a group chat with me. So if you have any queries, you can ask. And so many of you may ask, maybe wondering, how much does the program cost, or how does it work? I want you to consider, what does going to a gym, a really good gym, for a year cost, and you don't get results. So if you go to a gym and you pay about 50, 60 quid a month, for a year you would spend about £700. If you're living your life the way you've been living it for the last year, having habits or addictions like having a regular wine or chocolate or this, that, the other, that are not valuing your body, they're devaluing your body. All right. The other day I was with a guy called Dr. John DiMartini at an event. Divya was there, and he was talking about something's happened in our lives emotionally, and we get to depreciate ourselves. So we do things to depreciate ourselves. They actually cost money, those depreciating habits. So if we found somebody who spends £40 a week on wine, and that might be some of you. And £40 a week on wine, she's spending £160 a month. In a year, what would she be spending? She'd be easily spending close to £2,000 in a year on that bad habit of wine, very easily, right? So you want to look at, what is it you're currently doing, and we're going to move those expenditures out and reinvest them in healthy activities. So if you joined us, we do a 1-to-1 6-month program. This is kind of like a private. Some people don't want to publicly do it. I'll be honest with you, even though it costs more, it yields fewer results. We have the full price for the group program is $9.99. That's a 3-month program. It's actually a lot more effective and costs less. But right now, till this weekend, we have it at $6.97. We had a mega early bird for $4.85, but that's gone now. And actually exclude the VAT. It includes VAT. We've had a change in the pricing. It's $6.97 inclusive of VAT. And if you know somebody that has done the program, they might be able to, if they refer you, they get a referral fee. But anyway, that's to them. And when you've done the program, you get to invite somebody and you get a referral fee. That's because we want to keep people within our network and develop leaders. Are there any questions, guys? Any questions from any of you?
Ronnie, hi, Sylvia. Just to say, I'm going to have to call off the call in about 5 minutes, but everything sounds great, and I look forward to receiving the next steps email.
All right.
We'll be in touch soon.
Okay, awesome. Janali, Manjeet, any questions?
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Divya. Okay, if there aren't any questions, I want to leave you guys with this as you go and have an awesome bank holiday weekend, wherever you are. I want you guys to really get connected to who you are, your worth, and your value to what you're doing in this one world, because it's very key. People that take on our program, they really fall in love with themselves, and they get connected to the purpose of themselves, and their vehicle, their body, is just a vehicle to take them to deliver and fulfill on that purpose. So I want to leave you with this. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Our habits around health might be things we're doing because we just grew up in that culture, doing those things, eating those things, working those ways, never questioning it. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Beautiful quote by Steve Jobs. We're going to end there, guys. And if you have any questions, please connect with me on Facebook. If you have any queries about the program starting on Monday, please let me know and let's chat, because there's some setup stuff that needs to get sent out to you so that you're ready for your challenge come Monday. All right, guys. Bye for now. Have an awesome weekend and speak soon. See you later.
Thanks, Ronnie. Bye-bye.
Bye.